就是补这个加工费。我能做出这一点，请问在座的能做到吗？
Because my factory went bankrupt, I recently sold my villa in Guangdong and also sold 2 houses in Hangzhou. It was all to subsidize the processing fees for my factory. To be able to make such a decision, may I ask, can any of the friends here do the same? Most people definitely can't. After I sold these properties, how much did I raise? The total, including the income from customers selling on consignment and clearing out my inventory, was more than 100 million yuan, nearly 170 million yuan. When I sold the houses, my emotions were really complicated. To be honest, I felt so depressed I wanted to jump off a building. At that time, my husband was constantly comforting me because he really spoils me. I said my factory went bankrupt. My husband had no choice but to take out all his savings to help me pay off the debt. But I am actually a strong woman. I had never used his money before. But now that my factory has gone bankrupt, I had no choice but to sell my own properties, one after another, to resolve the issue. My principle is not to owe money to my processing factory, nor do I owe my suppliers. I absolutely do not owe them a single penny. So I had to sell the houses one by one because of the continuous economic recession, and my factory's business volume has sharply declined. The total debt, including the fabric suppliers, the daily operating costs of the factory, and the workers' wages, is 87 million yuan. The pressure from this 87 million yuan debt is enormous. So I had no choice but to sell my other properties under my name to pay off the debt. When I sold the houses, I didn't discuss it with my husband. I just sold them, handling everything on my own. I think this is a very challenging entrepreneurial journey, right? Actually, I haven't talked about this matter for a while, and I've gradually forgotten about it, because I feel there's no need to dwell on it. Only when you learn to let go can you be truly happy. If you don't let go, it will always weigh on your heart, preventing you from being happy. So, I've learned to let go, and that's why at my current age, I can still live so happily. Isn't that right?
我不知道你们卖房是开心还是难过。
I don't know if you're happy or sad about selling the house, but I am really sad. As for me, my heart is filled with reluctance and a sense of loss. I will no longer be the owner here in the future. This house was the first property I ever purchased in my life. I originally thought it would become my home, but now I have to sell it, and this feeling is so complicated. I really can't bear to part with it. I have put a lot of emotion into this house. Almost everything here was chosen and bought by me personally. Everything is new, and I hardly lived here for long. I don't even care anymore if I lose money. Right now, I just feel so upset. I really can't bear to part with it. What should I do? I also don't want to keep paying the mortgage anymore because the financial pressure every month is really too much for me to bear. I'm filming this video now just to leave myself a memory. In the future, I won't be able to come back. In the future, I will no longer be the owner of this house. I'm really sad right now. I'm not sad because I'm losing money on the house. I'm sad because I lived here, and I really can't bear to leave it. When I finished renovating the house, I once thought I had a real home. I put so much effort into this place, but now it all seems like it's become someone else's gift. My feelings are so mixed, I don't know how to express them. Every time I sit here alone, I can't help but shed tears, and sometimes I just start crying for no reason.
我们的房子卖不掉了，在石家庄花160万买的房子。
Our house is now unsellable. This house, located in Shijiazhuang, which we bought for 1.6 million yuan, is now so undesirable that even at half price, no one is willing to buy it. Has the market really become this cold? Initially, we listed the house through an agent for 1.13 million yuan, but there was no interest. To sell it quickly, we reduced the price to 1.08 million yuan. More than a month passed, and only a handful of buyers inquired about the house. Even the agent called less frequently. Once, the agent suddenly called me, saying that a client was willing to offer 700,000 yuan to buy our house. He also mentioned that if we agreed to this price, they could pay in full right after signing the agreement. Hearing that someone was finally interested in our house, I immediately felt a renewed sense of hope. I was so happy that I didn't even think much about whether the price was too low. I just wanted to sell the house quickly. After hanging up the phone, I immediately shared the news with my husband, eagerly awaiting his reaction. However, after hearing it, my husband didn't seem as excited as I was. He calmly analyzed the situation, saying, at 700,000 yuan, we would only just be able to pay off the remaining mortgage. If the buyer is unwilling to cover the deed tax and transfer fees, we'll have to pay an additional 50 to 60,000 yuan out of pocket. Plus, we spent about 100,000 yuan on renovations and furniture. If you calculate it this way, we're basically giving the house away for free. After hearing his words, my excitement immediately disappeared. Initially, we were hoping to ease our financial pressure by selling the house, but now this house has become a burden we can't get rid of, like a hot potato, leaving us at a loss for what to do. My husband remained silent on the other end of the phone, while I, after the initial burst of excitement, sank into deep regret. Looking back, I was the one who insisted on buying a house quickly. In fact, my husband didn't agree with taking out a mortgage to buy the house back then. He wanted to wait until our financial situation improved before buying, but I thought we could manage the few thousand yuan mortgage payment each month. In the end, my husband gave in to my insistence. We spent all our savings to buy this house, and now, facing a mountain of debt, I can't help but feel regret. I regret my stubbornness back then. Now, with the growing pressure of an unaffordable mortgage, what should we do next?
经过这几年的挣扎筛选，终于有一个人愿意接盘了。
After working hard to sell the house for this period of time, finally, someone is willing to take it. Although others call it a cut flesh price, I feel it's more like a cut bone price, far below the market rate, just to sell the house. Today is the transaction day, and we've agreed to handle the formalities at the certification center. My emotions are complicated right now, and I don't know how to describe them. Perhaps want to cry but no tears is the most fitting expression. 10 years of hard work has resulted in this, with all savings consumed by the mortgage. Through this experience of selling the house, I deeply realize that if it's not a pressing need, really, don't easily buy a house. If you live in it, you can't afford to renovate. If you don't live in it, it's vacant, and you still have to continue paying the loan every day. What's worse, some people sell after renovating, and buyers don't even like their renovation, meaning the money spent on renovations goes to waste. Fortunately, I didn't apply for the renovation loan my friends urged me to. If I had, the renovation cost would have been 400,000 to 500,000 yuan, and calculating it that way, just that portion of the expense would be close to 1 million yuan. When calculating the property transaction costs, I suddenly realized that it also involves tens of thousands in taxes and several years of property management fees. Adding the impact of inflation, 200,000 yuan 7 years ago and 200,000 yuan now are not the same concept at all. 7 years ago, if I had bought gold with that money, its value would have at least doubled by now, right? Based on the current gold price, it's close to 700 yuan per gram. The agent reminded us not to disclose the selling price of the house, as it would disrupt the market and affect the selling prices of other homeowners. I also agreed not to reveal the buyer's specific situation, as it involves privacy. Looking at the smiles on the faces of the buyer couple, I feel complicated. Although I didn't say anything, I'm thinking in my heart, they are truly happy. My friend joked that the buyer's happiness is built on my suffering. Next, I just want to sit down quietly and rest for a few minutes. Looking at the house sale contract, I'm thinking that when the money arrives, it will almost be enough to pay off the bank debt. But why did I have to go through all this trouble? Why work so hard? Wouldn't it be better to just lie flat at home? What am I chasing after? These years of exhausting myself have left me with a body full of problems. Herniated lumbar discs, staying up late damaging my liver and kidneys, untreated stones in my body, and my vitality greatly diminished, so now I have to rely on traditional Chinese medicine for recuperation. Although the burden is finally lifted, I still don't have a clear direction for the future. My husband and I discussed it, and we don't plan to run any more physical stores, nor do we want to invest more funds. In recent years, the restaurant and online investments we started together have both gone bankrupt, and even some small projects we invested in have all lost money. Roughly calculating, along with the house loss, the total loss is already close to 1 million yuan. My friends joke that I should rename myself Busy for Nothing. I am very grateful for my friends' concern and reminders. Some told me to grit my teeth and hold on, saying the housing market might warm up. Others urged me to sell the house quickly. Actually, this is just a small 18th-tier city, and the hope for market recovery is really slim, so I had no choice but to grit my teeth and cut the house off. Someone told me that as long as I'm still here and happy, I shouldn't carry too many burdens. I am truly grateful to everyone. Finally, I have gotten rid of the house that had weighed on me for 7 years. Honestly, who would willingly accept such an outcome? But I also understand that I must gradually let it go.
房子终于卖出去了，但是我后悔了。
The house has finally been sold, but now I really regret it. Many of my relatives have been calling me one after another, like an explosion going off. Everyone is questioning me. You lost hundreds of thousands. Did a donkey kick your brain? Looking back, I indeed lost around 600 to 700,000 yuan by buying high and selling low. The amount is really too large. I understand their reasoning, but I also have my difficulties. I was really forced into this situation. When I first bought the house, the price was 15,000 yuan per square meter, totaling more than 1.3 million yuan, and the down payment alone was nearly 400,000 yuan. Over the years, the mortgage and interest together added up to nearly 200,000 yuan, which almost drained all my savings. But back then, I was almost obsessed with buying the house. No one could persuade me otherwise. Within 3 days, I had looked at the house, paid the money, and signed the contract, all in one go. Now, looking back, I was really too impulsive and became someone who was taken advantage of. When I bought the house, I only focused on its location, which was relatively close to the city center, with schools nearby and complete facilities. Although the floor wasn't ideal, I didn't care at the time, thinking it didn't matter, so I decided to buy it. At that time, the mortgage interest rate was 6.2%, and I had to repay more than 5,000 yuan per month. Some people ask me, why could you afford the 5,000 yuan mortgage 3 years ago, but now that it has dropped to 4,000 yuan, you can't afford it anymore? The reason is simple. 3 years ago, my salary was still pretty good, more than 10,000 yuan per month, and I wasn't a big spender, so I didn't feel much pressure from the 5,000 yuan mortgage at that time. However, due to policy changes, opportunities for salary increases have decreased, and there has even been a wave of layoffs. Many campuses have also closed one after another. Now, my salary has shrunk significantly, and I only take home 5,000 or 6,000 yuan per month, and the pressure of living has suddenly increased. I still have to eat and live. How can I afford the mortgage of more than 4,000 yuan now with such a small salary? What gives me the biggest headache is that my parents are getting old and can't help much, so I can only rely on myself. However, it's becoming harder and harder to make money, and I feel like I'm about to break. Maybe I will regret today's decision, but who can say for sure what the future holds?
我的房子断供了，现在也被查封了。
My house has already been foreclosed, and it's also been seized by the court. The cause of this started in 2019, when I spent more than 2 million yuan to buy a 3-bedroom apartment in the city. The area of the house is 110 square meters. At that time, I paid a down payment of 600,000 yuan, and the remaining loan was over 1.4 million yuan. The monthly mortgage was about more than 8,000 yuan, and the loan interest rate was relatively high, around 5.8%. Then, in April last year, I lost my job and thus had no source of income, which forced me to stop paying the mortgage. When I went to the bank to inquire, they told me that I still had over 1.3 million yuan in loans outstanding. This meant that after all these years, I had only paid off more than 300,000 yuan, of which over 200,000 yuan was interest, meaning I had only actually repaid about 100,000 yuan of the principal. About 6 months after I stopped making payments, the bank sued me, and the court's judgment came down. Not only was my house seized, but the court also froze my bank cards, and even my WeChat wallet was frozen as well. Moreover, some penalty fees, lawyers' fees, litigation fees, and property preservation fees have now accumulated, amounting to around more than 100,000 yuan. Just a few days ago, the court notified me that the house might soon be auctioned, and they offered a 30% discount, which means this house might only be sold for just over 1.4 million yuan. However, the current market situation is very bad, and almost no one dares to buy it. If someone does buy this house, not only will I lose my only property, but I will also lose my last place to stay. Worse still, I might owe the bank tens of thousands of yuan, and the more than 300,000 yuan down payment I made will be completely gone. I roughly calculated that my total loss might be around 800,000 to 900,000 yuan. Looking back, I now realize that when I bought the house, I overestimated my financial capabilities and did not act within my means. This is the result of impulsively buying a house and ending up in such a predicament.
So, I want to remind everyone here that buying a house is a major decision, and you must make the decision based on your actual financial situation. Don't make such a significant decision impulsively or in a moment of excitement, or your future life might become extremely difficult. This painful lesson has made me feel bitter, and now I can only turn to relatives or friends to see if they can help me get through this tough time.
In recent years, more and more Chinese people have chosen to sell their properties. Many may mistakenly think this is because everyone is short on cash. However, the truth is that many people sell their houses not because of significant financial pressure. In fact, most of them have enough funds to handle their mortgages. What truly drives them to sell their houses is more related to the pressure from their current income and mental burden. Nowadays, aside from the top professionals in a few industries, most people's income has significantly shrunk over the past 2 years, generally only 2/3 of what it used to be a few years ago, or in some cases, only 1/3. In this situation, people also face the risk of losing their jobs at any moment. You might find that your colleagues who used to work with you have either already lost their jobs or are barely holding on, with the constant risk of unemployment. In such an environment, if individuals cannot effectively adjust their mental state, the pressure from debt will feel especially heavy. Many people in China today are becoming increasingly anxious about their home loans and car loans. They realize that until these loans are fully paid off, the house and car do not entirely belong to them. The reason behind such thoughts is mainly because properties and vehicles have lost their original financial attributes. When we apply for loans, what we're actually mortgaging is our future income. In other words, we are using our future earnings as a guarantee. However, as incomes decline, many people's earnings are no longer able to meet the expectations set when they first took out the loans, creating a strong sense of urgency. Some might say, if you have the money, why not just pay off all the loans so you won't feel that sense of urgency? But the reality is, in today's social environment, if you don't have enough cash flow, that sense of urgency will only become more severe. The lack of cash flow is often more frightening and pressing than the debt itself. What do you all think of this situation? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support is very important to us, and we will continue to provide you with better content. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.